Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustment of the Township of Union, which is being held pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Law C-231, Laws of New Jersey, dated 1975. Notice of this meeting was advertised in the local source, the newspaper of record, and notice has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building adjacent to the municipal clerk's office. Roll call.
Mr. Wiley.
Here.
Ms. Martins.
Here.
Mr. Bentavegana.
I'm here.
Ms. Scott is absent. Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. McNeil is absent. Mr. Graves.
Present.
Ms. Ricketts.
Here.
And Mr. Champy.
Here. There being a quorum present, this meeting is now declared open. Mr. Manguso, at this time, are there any communications?
There are no communications, Mr. Chairman, at this time.
Hearing none, we'll continue with tonight's meeting. Our first order of business this evening is calendar number 3455, Bruno and Sarah Tavares. Location is 2347 Loriana Road, Block 3913, Lot 52. Applicant wishes to construct an addition with insufficient setbacks with a driveway in front of the living space. Would the applicant come forward? Just come over there.
Good evening.
You want to state your name and your address and so forth? And our board attorney will.
Okay, so I'm
Okay.
Sarah Tavares, my husband Bruno Tavares, and our property is located at 2347 Lorana Road here in Union, New Jersey.
Can I ask you both, this is Rob Pantsul, I'm the board attorney, can I ask you both to swear or affirm that the testimony you provide this evening is the truth and the whole truth?
Yes.
And you stated your name and record, you're the owners and the applicants for tonight's
Correct.
application, correct? Are you planning to go forward on your own? Who's going to be the spokesperson, as it were, both of you, one of you?
I guess me.
All right, why don't you give us some, do you have a witness too, or are you going to do it on your own? I notice you have architectural plans. Yes.
But we're on our own.
I marked them for the record. I marked A1, the application as you submitted it. In A2, I have the architectural plans that were submitted with the filing. So the board has all that information. And the witness, he's not going to testify tonight, the architect?
No.
Yeah, you probably can summarize. Sarah, is it?
Yes.
And did you get the spelling for the record, so we're good? Why don't you summarize what it is you're doing and why, and try to move it along as best we can.
Okay, so essentially, we've been here in the neighborhood since 2018, January. We were very young at that time. It was our first property, and we're just looking to stay here where we set our roots, and we want a little bit more living space now that we have a son. We're thinking about maybe adding another, so the addition would be beneficial to us to be able to stay here and continue to grow our family here in Union. And then the second premise is the driveway. So we live on a dead end, it's a cul-de-sac. There's only 8 homes on the cul-de-sac, and we have 1 garage. So the parking's already limited. We're off of Broadway Avenue, which has our restrictions. There's also restrictions when it snows. We always have to figure out a place to put our second car. So essentially a little bit more driveway would help us to put both cars in front of our property.
The plans that were submitted, can you summarize what it is you're doing with the structure as it relates to the current existing property?
Yes, so essentially we're just adding a second level to the existing structure. It needs to have a 5-foot setback from the property line on the left side, and we're currently at 4.71, the existing structure. So the addition, just so it could continue and be congruent, we needed to file this variance to add the second level, and then we're gonna also go back to extend our kitchen a bit, but that's within the limits.
And you're not adding further into the encroachment. You're following the plans that were submitted. You're going straight up, correct? to
We're
what
going
exists?
back and straight up, yes.
Right. Now, just so you know, the Colliers engineers in the township, they reviewed your application. I don't know if you saw the submission.
Yes.
Dated May 22nd of 2025. You have no problem working cooperatively both with them and Mr. Manguso's office once the development state takes, you got to go through the permit process.
Yes, of course.
There's certain criteria that you have to fulfill. You have no problem accommodating that, including fire safety because of the setback less than what's required on the side. There's details by law that you'll be looked to implement. You have no problem cooperating with them. in
None
that regard.
whatsoever.
I did mark the plans, and it's single-family residential use, as you said. You don't rent it, there's not a separate unit, it's two-family, it's all single-family, it's going to remain.
That's it.
Okay. I have no further direction, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if any board members have questions of the applicants.
Board members at this time, do you have any question for Mr. or Mrs. Tavares? Hearing none. Are there any members of the public that would like to question the testimony that Mr. and Mrs. Tavares have provided this evening? Hearing none. Are there any comments from the public? Hearing none. Do you want to sum up, or you're good? You're
We're
good?
good, just thank you.
At this time, we're going to conference this, okay? Mr. Bentavegna.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I see no issue with this application. Collier's report is clean. Variance is very minimal. I'll be voting yes tonight.
Mr. Johnson.
I too will vote yes. It's admirable. You want to stay in town. I'm glad you want to stay and raise your family in Union. So I too will be voting yes and approving.
Ms. Martins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a clean, straightforward application. I will be voting yes as well.
Ms. Ricketts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do concur with my colleagues, and I also will be voting yes.
Mr. Graves.
I feel it's a clean application. I'm supportive of it, and I will be voting yes. No negative impact on the community.
And Mr. Wiley.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have no problem with this application. I think it's a clean good application, and I'm going to vote yes.
As for myself, this project has no negative impact on the property or the neighboring property owners. I too will be voting yes, and thank you for staying in Union.
Thank you.
At this time, may I have a motion and a second?
Mr. Chairman, I move the board grant the variance applicable to this application and that council is directed to prepare a resolution consistent with the board's decision.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Ms. Martins?
Yes.
Mr. Bentavegna?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Graves?
Yes.
Ms. Ricketts?
Yes.
And Mr. Champy?
Yes. Congratulations.
June 18th, the board will pass a resolution memorializing the ruling. You work cooperatively with Mr. Mangusso's office going forward. Good luck.
Have a nice evening. Our second order of business this evening is calendar number 3447, Liberty Assets LLC, located at 1044 Woodland Avenue, Block 309, Lot 11. It's for a subdivision and construction of 2 new single-family dwellings and 1 new two-family dwelling.
For the
Good evening,
record,
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Gassion, before we begin, Mr. Champy, our chairman, mentioned to me that he had some conversations with a friend relevant to the application tonight. He does not feel comfortable sitting. He wants to recuse himself based on the conversations he had. I advised him it's probably, since he's referencing it and he wants to remain impartial, he's going to recuse himself and leave the dais. So Mr. Wiley, as our vice chair, is going to step in for Mr. Champy, who's going to step down. Just note for the record, that leaves us with six members. We don't have the full complement of board members. I know we have a lot of people here tonight, and I leave it to you in terms of the progression, if you want to start perhaps with your owner to summarize some of the things that have
I
happened.
certainly would like to start the case in hopes that, well, let me talk to my client for just 1
Yeah,
minute,
sure,
if I can.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr.
Excuse
Champy,
me,
you could
Mr.
step
Chairman.
down.
Thank you, Mr. Panstola.
Sorry, Mr. Wiley, you're acting chairman? Yes. You're the chairman? Okay. In a brief discussion with my client, he wants me to proceed with the application. So I'm ready to proceed if the board wants to hear me open.
Giacconi,
Can I go ahead?
begin?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, council's name is Robert Gassion, the firm is Gassion Pomaco, and we are located at 1 Boland Drive in West Orange. I represent the applicant in this matter, Liberty Assets LLC. Liberty has filed an application seeking preliminary and final major subdivision approval in order to demolish the existing structure on the property and subdivide the existing property into 3 lots. Should the application be approved, the proposed Lot 1101 and Lot 1102 would front on woodland and would be improved with a single-family home on each lot. Proposed Lot 11.03 would front on Loudon Ave and be improved with a duplex or side-by-side 2-family. The application for development at one time on this property, I think it was 2007, was denied. We will, of course, review the difference in order to provide a reason for re judicata not to apply. That will be done by my second witness, the engineer. He'll review what the previous application was and how we differ from that application. Property is in an RA zone, permitting 1-family units, not 2-family homes. Therefore, in order to develop as proposed, there is a D1 variance and there are a couple of bulk variances. The C variance have to do with insufficient square footage and the other insufficient width, and the last has a insufficient rear yard. The witnesses you'll hear from are George Castellins, the realtor for Liberty Assets, the engineer Adnan Khan, Ali Qureshi, the architect, Brian Intandola, the traffic engineer, and Tom Rickey, the planning consultant. I'd like to call my first witness, George Castellins. George. Mr. Panzer? I'm sorry.
I'm being told that Ms. Martins had business with your client representative as a realtor in town. I'm hearing it for the first time, Mr. Gassion.
I understand that happens.
I'm not the owner of the property, does that matter?
You're a witness this year.
There's certain conflict issues that we like to be mindful of to be full disclosed, and Ms. Martins did disclose it. As a former customer, as a realtor, or no?
We've worked a transaction together.
If you don't feel comfortable sitting to be impartial under that business relationship, my recommendation to you would be also to recuse, and we'd have to replace you. We have 2 members missing tonight, Mr. Gassion, but certainly I can't change the conflict issue. I mean, it's something that we have to be mindful of.
Does the member feel uncomfortable sitting on a case?
She does. That's why she came to me.
So we're now left with 5 people. Without consulting with my client, I would ask that I be permitted to proceed and be permitted prior to the end of the case to decide whether or not to go to a vote and possibly withhold the planner and my summation until a meeting where we could have 7 members present.
I think that's advisable under the circumstances. We have your client representative. I'll swear him in. Let's start with him. Ms. Martins can leave the dais. I'll note for the record that you've recused. We have 5 members. We'll reserve your right. And why don't we get started? I mean, it's something that the public can then question the witnesses, and we can go forward that way, at least to have a record begin. Just so the public is aware, too, anyone who is not here tonight has the ability, any board members, to review the record and certify, and it would make them eligible. So we would have a full complement of members in the future, just not tonight.
Again, should we complete the case, my client may want to go forward if that's okay.
We'll see. If we'll cross
I
that
just
bridge.
don't know if we're
That's
gonna
your
complete the case
option.
anyway.
Your option as the applicant.
Okay. I'm too preoccupied. Is my witness been sworn in? I'm sorry.
He did not. Can I ask the witness to swear or affirm that the testimony you provide this evening is the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
And for the record, state and spell your name with your affiliation.
Yeah, it's Jorge Castellins, Jorge, last name Casalins. Affiliation is I'm representing both the seller and the contract purchaser of this property.
Mr. Castellins, what is your business address?
75 East Cherry Street, Rahway, New Jersey.
And you've mentioned it, but what is your occupation?
I'm a real estate broker of 11 years and chairman of my zoning board in my municipality for 6.
Did you introduce the purchaser to the property in question?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell us how he became interested in this property?
Yes, the owner of the property, 1044 Woodland, was referred to me to sell the property. So as a realtor, we do comparative market analysis to establish the value of the property. Unfortunately, the house is in a lot of disrepair, and he doesn't have the finances to be able to fix it up. So he also sought potentially selling the property subject to approvals, which is where the experienced developer, that is the contract purchaser, came to know about the project.
Was there an original plan prepared which was changed in an effort to try to accommodate some objections or concerns of neighbors?
Yes, sir. So the original submission to this board was for 4 single-family properties, all same-size lots, 40 by 100. But after we reached out to the neighbors, sitting in your position in my borough, I know neighbors obviously have concerns, so I went and canvassed some of the neighbors, had some conversations individually, emails with others, meetings about 3 or 4 times, and essentially we had 3 main concerns that we took into consideration from the proposal and made revisions. If I may, I'd like to just say which ones they were.
You certainly can.
Absolutely. So the first thing was the neighbors generally felt that 4 lots was too much for the site. So the proposal now has 3 lots as opposed to the 4. The second thing was there was potential concern of water runoff to neighboring sites because obviously there's 1 massive structure now and there'll be 3 structures instead. But our engineer will testify as to the water retention systems that we're proposing, which will help to not have that happen. And the last one was the biggest concern, is my understanding. The neighbors had issues with parking because of on the side where Canes Field, the stadium is, there's a lot of parking issues there. So that's where the proposal was changed to set the house back more to provide for 5 parking spots on each unit. So it's a total of 20 parking spots now, where it's more than double what's required, and that's also what triggered our setback variance for the rear. But we did that out of consideration to the neighbors' concerns about parking. So those were the major changes that were herein proposed.
As a realtor in the area, do you think the proposed 4 units fills a need?
Yes, sir. As many people know, there's a housing shortage in the country right now, caused a lot by the higher interest rates. And there's so much housing demand that buyers are ending up renting. A lot of the development that's come to Union has been residential rental properties, but not a lot of new construction structures for sale have been built. And this is one of the most requested things, especially due to its proximity to the train station. This type of housing is what New Jersey as a whole is in dire need of.
Based on your experience as a realtor, in your opinion, do you think the proposal is consistent with the existing development in the area?
Yes, sir. These are colonial-style homes consistent with most of the homes that are there and consistent with all new construction that you see around New Jersey. The more, hardy plank, nicer quality finishes and the same. It's not one of these modern homes, California-style, that would look out of place. It's a modern-style colonial.
I have no further questions of this witness, Mr. Chairman.
Does members of the board, any members of the board would like to question this witness on the testimony he's given?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have a question. So just based on what you're saying, so each unit will have room for 5 parking spots in the rear?
So essentially, in the Woodland Avenue side, there's a proposed 2-family house. Each unit, it's a side-by-side duplex, has 5 parking spots. So 4 in the front of the house and 1 in the garage. And then on the rear on Loudon, there will be 2 single-family homes proposed. Each one has a parking for a driveway for 4 and the garage for 1. So it's a total of 20 parking spots, which is double what's required, more than.
So we're doubling up in the front on each unit and then 1 in the rear?
So rear of the existing lot, but in reality, it's the front of each new property. So it looks just like any other house where you have your driveway in front of your house.
Correct, but we're saying we're 4 in the front, correct?
Correct.
Well, okay.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other members that would like to question this witness? Are there any members of the public that would like to question this witness on testimony that he's given?
I'll call my engineer.
Excuse me?
I'm going to call my engineer as my next witness.
Yes, but
Yeah,
you
the
can ask
comment,
any
okay.
question based on the testimony he provided related to the plan from the Realtor's perspective. So you certainly can question him on that testimony now. Now will be the time to do it. You can come up, yeah. Just state your name and address.
Adnan Khan?
No, sorry. Adnan, wait, you gotta wait for a minute. This gentleman wants to question George.
Up to this
Oh,
mic.
come over here,
Over here,
George,
yep.
sir, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My apologies.
Just for the record, just state your name and address so they can put it in the minutes.
My name is Michael Zachariah. Address, 1064 Loudon Avenue. House is about across the street, maybe two homes over. That's okay. I have a question. I was at the building department today looking at the drawings. The backyard is 15 feet, and you mentioned that matches the homes in the neighborhood. I have a home across the street. I fit 4 cars in front of my house. I have a 16-foot patio and 30 feet of a backyard. So I've never seen a home with a 12, 14-foot backyard before. I don't understand how you fix something in the front, cause another problem in the back. So I just don't understand. And the reason for that is because the home doesn't fit. And, we can just get right into it. We've been here 2007.
Mr. Chairman, I don't mean to be rude, but this is the time for questions.
Okay, so my question is about the comparability of the home to the homes in the neighborhood, because that's just something I don't agree with.
Absolutely.
If you can give more insight on that.
Yes, sir, absolutely. So as the plan was originally proposed, we take what's called the building envelope, so you take all the setbacks, so rear setback 25, front setback, side setbacks, and you have where your building can actually go. So that was the design of the house. That was proposed with no setback variances. The code requires 25 feet of a backyard. After discussing with some of your neighbors and the concern with parking, we proposed to set the house back more to fit another car, 2 cars, because we have 2 cars width. We have no problem conforming to the 25-foot backyard. We're doing this to kind of address the concerns of the neighborhood and provide more parking by doing so. If the board doesn't like that variance, we'd be okay with going back to the proposal of having the house fit within the setbacks. But of course, we would still meet parking, but we just want to give an overabundance of parking so that, we don't add to the problem. We've seen the issues there, Okay. So that's the reason for your question, and you're right to point that out, sir.
All right, I'll have more comments for later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public that would like to question this witness on testimony that he's given?
Good evening, Kevin Betancourt, 1036 Woodland Avenue.
What's your name?
Kevin Betancourt,
And address?
1036 Woodland Avenue. The house right next to the project. I was never contacted by him or anybody else from the project because he said it was by email or talk to me or anything. I'm right next to it. So I was hoping at least the 4 houses that were right next to the project, be spoken to. What the other gentleman said, if the house goes back,
Yes.
oh, I'm sorry, if the house goes all the way back, so I'm going to be ditched in the backyard with a second floor. So the second floor is going to be on top of my backyard?
Okay, so to the first question, sir, I did go by the neighborhood. You must have not been home. I spoke with your neighbor to the left, Mr. Arminio, and I did remember speaking with you and your wife outside of the last meeting. We discussed about the setback and your concern with the backyard privacy. So I recall having that conversation. I'm sorry if I didn't go to your home, but I do remember speaking to you clearly. Yes, so the setback does, obviously would have that. It matches up to your backyard. But even if we weren't encroaching into the setback, what is allowed by code would allow a second floor to be built there. And I know your concern originally was you bought the house, and obviously you saw that this one was further away from your property, and that was one of the reasons you expressed to me that you love to buy your home. But the code does allow for this home to be built. We're not requiring any setback variances from the side yard. So what we're proposing is allowed by code. So I get your concern because you bought it and it wasn't in that condition, but the code does allow for this construction to occur that close to the side yard. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
But I completely understand your concern.
Yeah, very concerning.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any other members of the public that would like to question this witness on
Bob.
testimony that he's given?
Arnie Delgado, 1084 Loudon Avenue. Are there you said 4 cars are going to be parked there? Are going to be side by side, doubled up?
Sure. Our professionals will actually present this plan, but just to address your question, sir, right away, I'm not sure if you can see it here. So essentially, this is the property, and then in front of it, you have 4 cars in the driveway and 1 in the garage. And you're on Loudon, sir, or?
I'm
Yeah,
on
Loudon, so let me scroll down to Loudon. This would be,
So there's not going to be any greenery at all? It's going to be a parking lot in front
oh,
of the
no,
house?
no, no, there's greenery. There's plenty of
How
greenery.
much what's the ratio between the greenery and the parking?
I will let the engineer testify to that, but it conforms with the allowed coverage. So we're not,
50/50?
I'll let the engineer testify to that,
You
but
know
whatever the
you
code
don't know
requires.
the answer to that?
I mean, I can pull it up, but I'm not qualified because I'm not the engineer, but I can tell you that
You're
there's
the
a
one
green
that's talking
space.
about the parking.
Chairman.
Can you pull it up for me and let me know?
Sure. I'll let the engineer testify to that.
think it'd be better to have the engineer specifically discuss it.
Are there any other members of the board, of the public, that would like to question this witness on testimony that he's given? Hearing none, you
Mr.
have
Chairman,
the
I'm going to
floor.
call my next witness then, if that's okay. My engineer, Adnan Khan.
Just for the record, too, Mr. Gassion and board members, I marked A1, the application as it was submitted. I marked A2, the site plan of Mr. Khan, consisting of 9 sheets. Collectively, it's A2. A3 were the architectural submission consisting of 4 sheets, and A4 was the survey, the one-page survey. So A1 through A4 is in the record. Just to be clear, too, was the change that's proposed to increase the parking to 20 from 15, that's not reflected in the current site plans? That's just an offer of change? Am I clear on that, or is Mr. Khan going to cover that?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
What he's indicating is, on observation, the board attorney thought there were 15 spaces. The testimony by the previous witness, Mr. Castellans, was that there are 20 spaces. You as the engineer, I think the first question to address is, where are the 20 spaces? Be specific if you could.
Sure, I can explain it with the plans when I pull it up, but there are 20 spaces.
Okay, let me ask you to swear or affirm that the testimony you provide this evening is the truth and the whole truth.
I do.
And for the record, state and spell your name with your affiliation.
Adnan Khan, Khan, AWZ Engineering. I'm the project engineer for the project.
I just would like to qualify him. Your occupation, and are you a licensed engineer of the state of New Jersey?
I'm a civil engineer with a bachelor's and a master's in civil engineering.
And from what school did you graduate, and what degree did you obtain?
NGIT, Master of Science.
And have you testified previously before zoning boards and planning boards?
Yes, and in front of federal court and superior court as an expert witness.
And were you accepted as an expert in the field of engineering on each and every occasion?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I submit that he is qualified
We'll
as
accept-
an expert. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Khan, did you prepare the engineering site plan for the proposed 4 units?
Yes, I did.
And can you review the location of the property?
Sure. Let me just try to orient myself with the... Okay, as you have heard, this property is a through lot. It fronts on Woodland as well as Loudon and the front or rear, whatever you say, but it has 2 front yards. It's a through lot. And the existing property consists of a multifamily house facing facing Woodland, with the access from Woodland Street through a sidewalk. It's an existing three-family unit. And in the back facing Loden, there is a big parking area with a detached garage that serves the parking for this existing house in the back.
And what is the zoning at the site?
R3, sorry, R1,
R1, am I correct?
yes.
And
RA1, single family.
it's a one-family zone.
One family zone, yeah.
Would you describe generally the proposed site?
Okay. All right. I will start with the houses on Loden. We are proposing 2 single-family homes on Loden Avenue. Each lot is 4,000 square feet with a 40-feet frontage and a lot depth of 100 feet. Single-family homes, and I know parking was a big emphasis here so far. We have 4 parking spaces outside and 1 parking space in the garage. So the single-family house, each house has 5 parking spaces each. So a total of 10 parking spaces on Loden Avenue between the 2 houses. Going back to Woodland, Woodland will be a duplex, 2 units, duplex type system, units. And again, the parking configuration is pretty much the same as the other ones. We have 5 parking spaces for each unit. So that makes the total parking for the lot 20 proposed.
Would you briefly describe this? You talked about the different lots, but the subdivision, just describe the 3 new lots briefly.
What the proposal here is to, the 2 lots, or 2 single-family homes will be on each individual lot. So we have a 4,000 lot, as I'm highlighting through this hand. So there will be a house on the left and a house to the right. Each one will be on its own lot. And then we'll have a bigger lot, which is 8,000 square feet, which will host the duplex unit.
Now, are you familiar with an application involving this property in approximately 2007?
Yes.
And can you explain to the board briefly how this differs substantially enough from that to avoid the re judicata legal argument?
Sure. The application, the 2007, if I'm not mistaken, was the year, proposed 4-lot subdivision. And the way it was designed was the 2 houses that we are showing, like what we are proposing now, they were proposing 4 houses. And instead of 1 lot that we are proposing, the 3rd lot, they were proposing 2 lots for that particular application as well. So total, the proposal was for 4 lots subdivision, whereas we are 3-lot subdivision.
And that's the substantial change, am I correct?
Yes, it is.
Mr. Pansula, is there anything you need to do with regard to that?
No, I think it's enough of a change based on the law, as I understand, res judicata, which is why we didn't go forward the last time in terms of the 4 lots. But 3 lots is a substantial change legally to allow the board to hear the case. So I think jurisdictionally, in my opinion, the burden has been overcome by the applicant.
Mr. Khan, is there any landscaping proposed on this site?
Yes, we are proposing some shade trees between the 2, between the lot lines that we are proposing to the rear of the 2 single families as well as the duplex. And of course, there will be some shrubberies as per the taste of the owner of those houses.
And can you describe the existing drainage?
There is no existing drainage present on the property. So let me just...
Can you review the proposed drainage?
Yeah, I will just explain. Like the way the drainage works or way the property slopes is 75% of the property drains towards either the adjacent house to the east or towards Woodland Avenue, and the remaining 25% on Loden or again to the house to the east. What we are proposing, and again, it's going undetained. Any runoff is basically just surface runoff going towards the adjacent property and towards the street. So there is no existing system. What we are proposing is we are proposing a combination of dry wells and for 2 lots, and I believe, and I'm going to comment later about the Collier's report. So for the 2 lots, we are proposing drywall system that are designed for a 100-year storm event for additional impervious coverage that we are proposing for that particular lot. The roof leaders from the house will be tied directly into that drywall system, and that will capture all the water and discharge it into the ground or permeate into the ground. And that is for 1 lot facing Loudon and the duplex lot facing Woodland. However, in Collier's report, they requested or they commented that they need a drywall system for the 3rd lot as well, which I don't see an issue, and the applicant will comply with that. So in other words, if this application gets approved, we will have drywall system for each lot to contain the water.
Now, there was a discussion or questions by one of the neighbors with regard to the depth of the rear lot. Are there any bulk violations in conjunction with this application? And if so, would you please review them?
Sure. Yes, we do request some variances, and rear yard variance is one of the variance for each lot that we are proposing or we are requesting. Let me just go quickly with the variances. The lot area, the requirement is 4,000 square feet. We are, 5,000 square feet. For single family, we are 4,000 square feet. So we are asking for a variance for the 2 lots facing Loudon. The lot facing Woodland complies with this requirement. Lot width, 50 foot is required. We are proposing 40 feet for the 2 houses on Loudon. However, the lot on Woodland complies. Then we are requesting a rear yard variance, 25 feet is required, and we are proposing 14.84 for all 3 lots. And again, just to explain that, like the reason for this variance is because we are trying, or as per the discussion with the applicant, with the owners, that the parking is the main issue in the area. So in order to provide 2 additional parking for each unit, that's triggering the variance, the rear yard variance.
Now, did you have an opportunity to review the municipal consulting engineer's report?
Yes.
And have you any comments with regard to that?
I believe all the comments, they are mostly housekeeping comments, and applicant will comply. However, I just want to comment on one comment about the basement. We are proposing basement, and the architect will go over the plans. We are proposing basements for these houses. And I believe the comment on Collier's report is that they think there might be high groundwater in the area. So they think that it will impact the basement. However, as any project, this project, prior to construction, there will be soil investigation performed for this project, which includes the determination where the seasonal high groundwater is in the area, and also the permeability, so that the drywall system that we are proposing will work as is intended. And if we, during that investigation, if there is any evaluation that the water is high, or even the stormwater system, the way we are designing, doesn't work, then we always have an option, and then we can alter, like we'll talk about how, I mean, there are different waterproofing methods for the basement that can be accommodated, but again, it's a little premature at this time until we do the soil investigation, which is usually part of the construction phase design.
So you will do, or your client will do, a thorough investigation to determine whether or not there's a likelihood of a water problem in the basement, should there be a basement?
Correct.
And if so, proper measures will be taken to avoid the risk that might come from water in the basement.
That is correct.
I have no further questions of this witness, Mr. Chairman.
Any board members that would like to question this witness?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a question. You testified regarding if we have a basement. When would you confirm if there would be a basement?
No, we have a basement.
So there
as
will
the
be a
plans are
basement?
submitted, yes.
Okay.
Any other board members that would like to question this witness? Are there any members of the public that would like to question this witness on testimony he's given?
I'm Brian Cave, 1070 Woodland Avenue. In regards to the difference from the 2007 plan to now, what is the difference in the square footage? Because there's still technically 4 homes being built, which was denied back in 2007. So is there a difference in the square footage of what was presented then and now in terms of the coverage of the lots as well?
I'm not familiar because I didn't get a chance to look at the architecture. We couldn't find, or it was not provided to me, so I couldn't comment on that.
And are you aware that several years ago when we had that big flood, that we had flooding at the end of our streets and cars were like underwater, and that houses in our street, we constantly have water problems in our basement?
I believe, and that's what I said, like currently the existing lot, the way it is, like it is, quite a bit of this lot is impervious. And there is no stormwater system or stormwater management, so anything that falls basically just surface runoff either to the adjacent properties or towards the street. What we are doing is like we are taking all this water and providing in a detention basin which is designed to capture a 100-year storm event. Not actually the way we designed is like we looked at 2-year storm event, 10-year storm event, and a 100-year storm event. And whichever storm yields the maximum storage, that's what we are providing. Currently, we are proposing 2 lots to have dry well, but as Collier's engineers, the board engineer recommends to provide the dry well system or a stormwater system for the 3rd house, which applicant has no issue, and we can provide the 3rd one too. So in other words, we are reducing what's currently going out adjacent to the site, either to roadway. So our share of that flooding is going to be far less than what currently exists.
All right, so back to the square footage. Is there anyone that has information on that? Is there any difference in the square footage?
The change, all the change and the information on raised judicata, that legal term that Mr. Gassion used, was the difference in it being a 4-lot subdivision as compared to the 3. You certainly can raise particulars about the denial in 07 if you feel it's still relevant. So that certainly is on you as a witness, as an objector, and offer that testimony. The only thing I advised the board was on the fact that they can go forward to take a chance to have the board hear it as a new application.
I think it's no different than 4 lots versus 3 lots. It's still 4 structures, even though one's connected as a 2-family.
3 structures, however, the
Yes,
one structure
but it's
is a
still
duplex
4
structure.
homes.
Yes.
Just to help along, the public had asked the other witness as well, and I had asked the follow-up question, just the parking number has increased. Are the particulars on the site plan different than what's before the board right now? By that I mean, is there an area where this 5th spot on each lot, where are these cars going on the site plan? Is that shown currently, or is there going to be an adjustment to be made?
No, they are shown currently on the plans.
Okay.
All 5 parking spaces for each unit.
Because Collier's references 15 parking spaces in total. That's why.
Yeah, let me go over like again. So if we look at the 2 houses on Loden, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 parking spaces on the outside, and the 5th one is in the garage. The same thing for the 2nd house, 4 spaces on the outside, 1 inside. So that makes 10. Then if we go to Woodland, we have, for each unit, we have 4 spaces outside, 1 in the garage to the right unit, 4 spaces outside, 1 in the garage to the left unit. So this is another 10. So total of 20 spaces.
What part of the adjustment impacted the rear yard setback issue that had come up? I know there was some testimony, we're doing this to help parking, and therefore we need more extension into the rear yard. Explain that a little bit if you could. I think the public, I'm just trying to answer some of the direction I heard from the public. There seemed to be some confusion about the need for the rear yard setback as it relates to the park.
So instead of, let's say, instead of 4 parking spaces or 2 parking spaces in tandem on the driveway, if you eliminate the 2 spaces close to the street and provide, like, say, 3 spaces for each unit, we can pull the house towards the front yard. And let's see, it is 36, and so that will give us about 11 feet. So and then if you move the house at the front yard setback, that will give us 25 feet rear yard. So we will comply with the rear yard. And the same situation will be on Loden. Sorry. So if we push the house again to the front yard setback line, we will, again, I'm just going with the depiction that I have. I think we will be able to eliminate the rear yard on those two houses too. However, one thing I just want to emphasize here is currently we are showing 14.84 for the duplex and 14.84 for single family. So if you combine them, we are proposing about 29 feet setback between the structure to structure in the rear.
Mr. Khan, this is Anthony Manguso, the board secretary. I just have a quick question. You said that we could change this and we could change that to make it comply and do away with some variances here. But I don't think it's fair to this board to make changes as we go without letting our design professionals, Colliers, take a look at these things too. I mean,
I didn't say that we can change. I said, like, I think the question was what will happen and to explain how it will affect. So that's what I'm trying to explain. Like if the first row of the parking for each driveway is removed, the house can be pushed back. I'm not saying we are doing it, but I just explained, I'm just answering.
it can be pushed back if we had to do that.
But that's what was confusing to me, and I think to the public, as I heard the questions. The Colliers report references 15 parking spaces, and tonight we jumped to 20, and I didn't know if the reason was that some kind of an adjustment on the foundation of the home that created that, and that's something that we need to weigh, and whether or not it's better not to have a rear yard setback variance asked for to gain 5 parking spaces. That's clearly what the change entails, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
But again,
Mr. Mansula and Mr. Mongoose, I understand it's just too confusing at this point, and we're talking about change, and you certainly don't want to vote on a change without your professionals seeing it. In addition, there's 5 members present, so I would make it clear, I do not plan to complete the case this evening. At the present time, I would like to finish with this witness and take my architect next. And therefore, everything that's relevant to the plans will be before the board. After that, I will be seeking an adjournment and try to bring my traffic expert and my planner back with me when hopefully you can schedule us again where we might have 7 members present. And then we can hear what the board has to say about the issue of changing the parking and bringing it down to
12.
Give me a second, 12 spaces. So we still will have an excess of 4 spaces, I believe. Don't hold me to the numbers are going off the top of my head. But we now can have the rear yard comply or come very, very close to comply. I don't want to make a statement without seeing a plan.
I think that's a wise
I think
approach.
if we proceed that way, the board would be much more comfortable. But again, I'm only asking to finish this witness and put my architect on so everything's out for the board to know and the interested citizens to hear.
I think that's a wise approach, and the public will be able to question both the engineer, as we're doing now, and then the architect will be Mr. Gassion's next witness, and we'll move on from there.
Thank you.
I hope I answered your question.
No, you did, but you can understand the confusion, and I
Yes.
think that's, and I don't vote, as you know, I'm the board attorney, but when I have a lot of public at an application, I want to make sure they understand, and I have to advise this board as well, so I want the record to be clear. And it was explained well, and that's a decision that needs to be made. And I agree with Mr. Manguso, where maybe we want to have Colliers, to the extent they didn't make it clear, to weigh in on what's better, what's beneficial for the area, and maybe a traffic analysis on that as well, which Mr. Gassion will have a witness at the next meeting addressing that.
Understood.
I didn't know if there was
Any further questions of my engineer?
Any board members have any questions? Are there any, members of the public?
My name again? You need me to say my name again?
Yeah.
Kevin Betancourt, 1036 Woodland Avenue. My question is, what size of vehicles do you put the measurement on?
The standard parking space as per RSIS is 9 by 18. So we are
18.
proposing 9 by 18, yeah.
We have two SUVs, and I have a 4 parking spot. And when I park one in front of the other, I block the whole sidewalk. And if somebody has a pickup truck, which is 20 feet,
No, it's not 20 feet.
well, I just researched it, but, well, 18 feet. So it'll be bumper to bumper. And they wouldn't leave any space, so.
Yeah, 9 by 18 is the standard engineering and as recommended by RSIS for any passenger vehicle. And these are residential units, so we are talking about passenger vehicle. Let's say your Suburban. Suburban is about 16 and a half feet. So that's the biggest vehicle that you will see in a residential. Pickup trucks also, they are not, I didn't see any pickup truck that is more than 18 feet long. Everywhere you see like the standard engineering standards that we have to abide by, they recommend 9 by 18 feet spaces that accommodate any passenger vehicle.
Okay. And I understand the garage, and none of us tell each other how to use our garage, but usually everybody's used this garage as a storage. So we don't know if the persons that are going to live there are going to actually end up using the garage as a vehicle. Thank you.
Sure.
Any
Mr.
other members of the public that would like to question this witness?
Mr. Khan, I do have one question. I don't know if this should be for you or the architect. What is the dimensions of the garage? Because I'm looking at plans and I don't have a scale to scale it.
It's not shown on our plans, but the architect can
Okay,
give you the answer.
fair enough. Thank you very much.
Mike Zachary at 1064 Loudon Avenue. I had a question regarding your statement that this is a significant change from 2007. I was here in 2007. 2007 Loudon Avenue, I'm looking at 2 non-conforming homes, and I'm looking at 2 non-conforming homes. So for me, this is the same. So how is this significantly different from 2007?
I just object to this because this is a legal question. My client can't deal, my witness can't deal with the legal, this is a legal issue. He's explained what the difference is. He talked about the lots being 3 and not 4. He talked about the side-by-side, the 2-family versus 1-family. In my opinion, and based on the case law, that's substantial change, and we can proceed with the application. And I can't have my witness, that's not something he can testify to.
I think consistent with the way I explained to the other public participant, I think Mr. Gassion is right in terms of what the board, my opinion was to allow the board to hear the case. What you just raised, similar to what your neighbor did, that's information when you close, when you comment, when you're able to comment to this board to say this is why we have a concern or have a problem with the application. So it would be something for them to deliberate, but it doesn't, in my opinion too, and I agree with Mr. Gassion on this, and I advise the board, it allows the board to at least hear it, which we didn't do, if you remember, 2 meetings ago when we had that 4-lot plan, and that was the reason.
Are there any other members of the public that would like to question this witness on testimony he's given? There being none, do you have any other witness?
Thank you very much.
Mr. Qureshi.
Can I ask the witness to swear or affirm that the testimony you provide this evening is the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, I do.
And for the record, if you could state and spell your name with your affiliation.
Okay, Ali Qureshi, spelled as A-L-I, last name Qureshi.
Mr. Qureshi, what is your occupation? Where is your office located?
I'm a licensed architect, and I practice from my home at 61 Hollowbrook Road, California, New Jersey.
Are you a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, I am.
From what school did you graduate and what degree did you obtain?
From University of Idaho with a Master's of Architecture degree.
And have you testified previously before boards, planning boards and zoning boards, and in fact before this board.
Yes, I did.
And we accept that as an expert on each and every occasion in the field of architecture.
Yes, I was.
Mr. Chairman, I submit that Mr. Koresh is qualified.
accept his credentials.
Thank you. Mr. Koreshi, would you describe the building on the site at the present time?
Let me just-
I did mark the architectural plans A3, so to the extent anything deviates from what was submitted, we can mark it going forward, colorized or other versions.
Okay, convert this. Currently, there's a three-family house on this.
A three-family house?
Yes.
And is it in good condition, bad condition? What kind of condition is it in?
It's in a very poor condition.
All right, and would you describe the proposed new plan?
Sure. This is the one on Woodland Avenue. We are proposing a duplex side-by-side, single-family dwelling units. They will be mainly hardy plank on the front and vinyl siding on the side and the rear. This is how it's going to look like from the street. Like we described, on the left we have the basement plan. If everything goes well with the engineering, we should be able to build these basements. On the ground floor, we have one enclosed car garage, and the size of the garage is 20 feet deep by 12 feet wide.
I'd just like to say that would also be a variance, because the garages are supposed to be 10 by 22, the new code. Shouldn't say the new code, it's been addressed in the ordinance.
Okay, we should be able to adjust that. I wasn't aware of that. Most of the houses, even bigger houses, it's always 10 by 20, but if the code requires, we should be able to adjust that.
I expect, Mr. Manguso, that we're going to make some changes, and I'll try to make sure that change is also made to avoid that variance.
So on the ground floor, these two units are mirror images to each other. We're going to have an open concept kitchen in the back, a living room, a powder room, a pantry, mechanical room, and a mud room, and an entrance foyer. On each side, a little covered porch in front.
What is the total number of bedrooms in each unit?
So they're going to be 3 bedrooms on each unit. 1 master suite and 2 regular bedrooms with 1 common bathroom. And then we're going to have a small attic space, which conforms with the size of the attic. It's going to be 1/3 of the second floor, and it will be used as a playroom.
And what is the height of the building?
It's going to be 31 feet 8 inches.
And you've shown us a rendering of the attached or 2-family. Can you please review the individual 1-families?
Sure. Okay, so this is an artist's rendering for one of the units. They both will be identical to each other. So again, it's going to have 4 car parking in front and 1 car garage. Let me just go over the floor plans. Again, it's going to have a basement. On the ground floor, we're going to have all the common areas, kitchen, living room, dining area, a powder room, a closet, entrance foyer, a small study. And on the second floor, we're going to have 4 bedrooms. And we're going to have 3 bathrooms on the second floor. These are the elevations of one of the houses. They both will be identical. The only difference will be probably the color of the hardy plank.
Mr. Grassi, I'm sorry, but how many bedrooms in each of these one-family homes?
4 bedrooms.
4 bedrooms. I thought you said 3, then you said, well, I wasn't sure, so 4.
4, yes.
In the other attached, it's 3 bedrooms, is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Now, question. You've heard some comments from interested citizens and maybe board members about maybe 12 spaces would be enough. You would then have 4 more than required as it is. And if you did that, do you think you could eliminate or practically eliminate the rear yard variance in that you have, I think, approximately 15 feet rear yard and the requirement is 25 feet? Could we make a change? Could we make a change to increase the garage to 22 feet in depth, which I think should be easy because you just move it further into the basement area, and increase the rear yard to 25 feet if you had parking for 3 cars as opposed to 5?
Yes, we certainly can do it.
That can be done.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I have no further questions of this witness.
Yes, I do have a question, Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Vice Chair. So, given the current state and looking at the image there, if you keep the 4 cars, will there be any hangover to the sidewalk with the vehicle?
No. All parking spaces will be within the property line.
Okay, because looking at this, it appears as if there might be hangover, but you're saying no, that there will not be.
No, we will not consider any public space.
Okay.
I do have one I just would like to get on the record for the purposes. I see that there's a proposed attic plan. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. What is the square footage of that attic? Because I see play area there.
Well, the code calls for any attic space more than 7 feet high has to be 1/3 of the second floor or the floor below.
Of the floor below?
Yes.
Of the floor below?
And any ceiling which is less than 7 is not considered in that calculation.
Okay, so I see that you do have a clear height of 7 foot. And I mean, I don't have the calculation with me, but you're saying it is definitely lower than 1/3 of the story below?
Yes, we will comply.
What is the access to the attic?
Stairs.
Is it a drop-down stair?
No, it will be a walk-up attic.
Walk-up stair?
Yes.
Would this be considered a half a story?
Well, in most of the municipalities, it's considered as half a story.
So what?
Half a story, yes.
Because,
Manguso, you obviously have a concern about use of the attic, I assume.
well, yeah, because of the fact that we only allow 2 stories, not 2.5. And if he just said on the record that's a half a story.
We have to make some changes, obviously. And we'll certainly consider that.
Any other board members that have any other questions? Any members of the public that have questions for this witness regarding his testimony?
Christian Erickson, 1041 Loudon Avenue. What is the height of the building, specifically the two houses on Loudon? What's the height?
It's 31 feet 8 inches.
How is that in comparison to the other houses on either side and the other houses in the neighborhood?
Oh, other houses? I don't have that data.
Okay. As the gentleman said, we only allow 2 stories. Now you're adding
Yes.
another one, up to 31 feet. My house is immediately adjacent to it. Now, I want to know, is this house now going to be higher than my house? Because my question is this now going to be higher? And with those 2 houses shoehorned into that lot, with a very short amount of space between my property line and that house, how much light am I going to be getting coming in?
Well, we are complying with the ordinance for the height.
But I'm asking the question. Can you please tell me? How much space and how
Whether
tall
you're
is it going to be?
complying or not, the gentleman's asking, will there be shade that affects his house because of, we're compliant, but will there be shade that affects his house because of the height?
Well, that's why we have side yard setbacks, that one building cannot block the other building's sunlight and fresh air and stuff. And we comply with that side yard setback as well, and the height as well. So we are not moving the building closer to the property line more than what's it's required.
Okay, and how much space is between the edge of the property line and the beginning of the house?
Well, the site engineer has to come back and explain it to you, because he has all the numbers for the side yard. So for a one-family
Side yard
house,
is 5 feet.
for a one-family house, it's 5 feet.
Thank you for your time.
Are there any other members of the public that would like to question this witness on testimony he's given?
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would like to ask for an adjournment so that we can consider the aspects that were raised in the comments from the citizens and board members. But I just have one question that concerns me very much, and that is, we tried to provide extra parking. Is the board preferring, or seeming to prefer, to not provide that much extra parking and eliminate the variance for the rear yard? Is that the sentiment I'm seeing?
Does any board members have comments on Mr. Gassion's question as it relates to the testimony you've heard to date? Or is there additional information you want? I mean, it's up, he's asking a fair question in terms of, based on what you heard, based on public comments, or part of the problem, it's difficult, I realize that, because there's additional testimony and commentary to come, but does anybody have a strong preference one way or the other as we sit to have more parking with the rear yard variance or adjustments to try to make the setback compliant with less parking, albeit still compliant parking? Because 9, I believe, is the required number of spaces. in total.
We have an excess even if we try to comply with the 25-foot.
Right.
setback.
I guess the one problem, the one hardship for the board, I would think, is you haven't heard traffic yet in terms of some of those particulars. But if anybody has a strong opinion one way or the other, you certainly can answer the question of Mr. Gassion.
If we don't get a strong opinion, we'll try to draw our own conclusion from what we heard from the interested citizens and the board members. Try.
I think that's fair.
But if the board wants to be definitive, we'll try to comply with what they'd prefer.
Yeah. So,
Board member.
so I do think just listening to the public, neighbors, and so on, that, you know, keeping the setback like the rest of the other homes would be something that I would think, based on what the neighbors have said, that they would want. However, being that the location and the parking and so on and so forth is an issue, that might be a problem as well. Again, my concern when I saw the way the layout was is having the overhang on the sidewalk, which can possibly happen depending on the side of the vehicle, and that's a safety issue. So, you know, keeping up with the setback as is and what's in the neighborhood, in my opinion, of course, the board members can go ahead and give, I think that reducing the parking space to keep up with, you know, the setback, it's something that, from what the neighbors have said, would be, you know, my opinion, what I would like to see.
Yeah, and we're not voting. It's just commentary based on what you've heard so far. So, you know, if you need, I mean, just be clear. You're not going to be held to that. That you're going to hear more evidence, both from traffic and planning, at a new.
Mr. Pansel, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I also agree with my colleague. I'm just trying to get through on the diagram when he has the 4 cars parked. We're basing it, we don't know what kind of cars are going to be parked there. And it does look like it's going to overlap on the sidewalk.
Well, we're going to make sure it complies with the 9 by 18
We
requirement.
can go through measurements of
Yeah.
9 feet and 14, but we don't know what vehicles are going to be, you know, at each home. So I have a little problem with that.
I'd also like to hear from the traffic.
I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson.
That's all right. I'd also like to hear from the traffic engineer.
He will testify. I think it's better we decide what we're doing, and he can testify to exactly what the plan is. That's why I didn't put him on.
That's when you come back on that.
Yeah, I will. He'll be my first witness when I come back. I think I've gotten a flavor of what the board thinks.
Mr. Chairman,
Interested citizens think.
Not to
And my
interrupt.
client will make a decision based on that.
There's just one question of the public. We're not doing comments because he is going to continue, but you can come up to the dais since you're here.
Will there be a comment section tonight?
Not tonight, because he's not finished tonight and the board's not voting tonight.
I think the comments from us would be very helpful for all these conversations.
Well, I certainly wouldn't disagree with some commentary from the public since you're here. We've been here 2 other times. Just based on the testimony you've heard tonight, it might give the applicant some indication of feedback that they need to hear from you. We're going to hear it eventually. So I certainly think if you can gather some thoughts and have somebody summarize what you've heard, similar to the way Mr. Gassion asked it of the board members, that would be advisable. Come up here if you don't mind, because...
Mr. Pansula, I'm happy to hear, but I would prefer it be one person as...
Yeah, no, I agree. We're not going to have, and it seems like he did mention you're unified and there's some concerns that you're ready to discuss.
Yeah, we have some concerns.
I think that would be appropriate based on the commentary you heard so far from the board. So why don't you go ahead and state your name and address?
Okay, so I'm Brian Cave, 1070 Woodland Avenue. So I'm allowed to express the concerns of the neighborhood?
If you could, in summary fashion, we're not, as I said, we're not swearing you in. Mr. Gassion's not going to cross-examine you tonight. We've made a record tonight and we're going to adjourn. So if you have a submission there.
I object to a distribution.
Yeah, I wouldn't go to a submission. Just summarize it if you would. Only because, Mr. McCabe, he's going to be able to cross-examine you when that time comes. But why don't you summarize?
So even comments get cross-examined?
What's that?
Comment people get cross-examined?
When you make comments, yes, he has the right to ask you questions about your comments. You know, just to build the record, that's all.
All right.
So why don't you summarize, if you
Well, I
could?
could say, there's one thing that's not being looked at, is the precedent setting of this. There are 4 other 80 by 100 lots on Loden.
Mr. Chairman, I object to the test call. I thought he was going to get up to say was what his concerns were about how we can improve this. I'm not interested in getting into a big statement of what his complaints are, which is the kind of thing that would occur at the end of the case. And then, I don't think it's appropriate at this time, for sure.
If you could, Mr. McCabe, is it?
Yes.
Can you summarize your concerns of the lot sizes, the parking, the drain, I mean, the things you've heard?
We don't want 40-foot wide lots.
Okay.
Absolutely not. We want everything to be 25 feet in from the front lot and 25 feet from the back lot.
So the setbacks?
Yes. And
And-
we do not want a two-family home. So just 2 lots, 2 single-family homes.
Okay.
I then reiterate, Mr. Chairman, my request to adjourn at this time for us to consider what the situation is, what the concerns are of the board, and some of the concerns that the interested citizens have.
I guess the next thing would be to do is to pick a date so we can make sure everyone's aware of when that adjourned date would be. I believe June 25th is the next available open date that the board has, as we have agenda items prior. If that gives you enough time, Mr. Gassion, otherwise we're into after the July 4th holiday.
June 25th is fine with us.
It's a Wednesday night. It's 7:30 in this room for the public's benefit. We're going to make an announcement tonight. If there are changes or additional submissions, as I said the last time, you should stay in touch with the building department. There's not going to be any new notices. The board will consider the adjournment, but I'm getting ahead of myself a little. But just be mindful of the fact that you should stay in touch, as you've done. I know you have. A lot of the public has, because I've been reported to by the zoning official.
Mr. Manguso, you want those changes 10 days prior? Should we make changes?
Yes. That would be helpful, especially to the residents.
So, Mr. Chairman, I think what we need is a motion and a second to adjourn tonight's meeting to June 25th at 7:30 without further notice of the applicant, and we'll make a more detailed public announcement if the board can move in second and have a vote.
May I have a motion to adjourn for consideration of additional information and consideration of the board and public without further notice until June 25th for the next meeting. The next meeting will be June 25th without further notice.
Mr. Gassion, I assume you waive any time constraints that may confront the board for that adjournment. Thank you. So noted for the record.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn calendar number 3447, Liberty Assets LLC, 1044 Woodland Avenue, the block number being 309, lot 11. Next scheduled date on the agenda would be June 25th, 7:30 in this room, without further notice from applicant.
Second.
Second motion.
Mr.
All in
Bentavagna?
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now do a roll call.
So move.
No. We got to roll call.
So do a roll call.
Mr. Bentavagna?
Oh, got to have roll call?
Mr. Bentavagna?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Graves?
Yes.
Ms. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Just for the public's benefit, I'll just explain again. I know I'm repeating myself to some degree. The meeting tonight is adjourned. It will continue on June 25th. It is a Wednesday, 7:30 in this room. There will be no new notice mailed to you or newspaper publication. If you have any questions, you can come through the building department or reach out to Mr. Gassion's office, as I know some of you have done in the past.
Mr. Chairman, there being no further business coming before the board this evening, I move we adjourn.
Aye.
Aye.
So moved.